Hey, what's up, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a video game review. And for this review, we're going to be taking a look at another Nintendo eShop game called Castle of Hearts for the Nintendo Switch. Now, this is a title I kind of heard earlier this year when it was announced that this was going to be sort of a Switch exclusive, and I was a little curious about what this title was. And at the time, some of the videos that they showed off of it looked kind of interesting, sort of a medieval 2D platforming type of game. Sort of, in a way, kind of like, you know, how games like Shovel Knights was, to even classic games like Ghouls and Ghosts and Goblins, if I'm saying the name correctly. So after playing the game for a couple of weeks, I will have to say that while the game has its flaws, though, it is a title that I did actually have been enjoying a lot and been playing lately. So it is certainly an interesting title. So why don't we get started with our pros and cons? Let me get my notes out. And we'll start off with the pros. First of all, we'll talk about the visuals. Now, I'm not, being this is an indie title or anything like that, I'm not expecting the title to be it's like going to be like what Mario Odyssey or anything like that. That said, for an indie title, it looks kind of impressive. The background looks nice. The character models, I mean, they look nice for an indie title on a Nintendo eShop, for an eShop game in general. Though, in fact, the background kind of, in some areas though, not all areas, kind of looks, how do I say this? Sort of similar to the kind of backgrounds you would see maybe in like the classic Donkey Kong Country games. I'm not saying all areas look like that, but I definitely get a little bit of that vibe in terms of the visuals to a certain degree. But overall, from a visuals perspective, it looks very good for a Nintendo eShop game. The next one I want to talk about is the gameplay, though, and this one I definitely like. The game definitely has a classic 2D platforming type of a game, and in a way, it kind of gives off a vibe ranging from the old school Castlevania games to basically, you know, games like I mentioned earlier, Ghouls and Goblins, Ghouls and Ghosts, Maximo as well. But overall, it is a very interesting and fun classic 2D platformer. It adds a little twist to the gameplay as you have to watch your health bar because it sort of decreases, and you have to sort of range from defeat enemies to find certain, like, I think red stones and all to increase your health and all. In other words, it kind of has a little bit of a Dark Soul vibe to it. I won't say it's completely dark, but it has that little vibe to it, along with the other classic 2D platform games I mentioned, you know, like Castlevania, Ghouls and Goblins, and so forth. So overall, I love the classic 2D platforming. I like some of the games challenge that they have in it as well. And last but not least, I do want to say that the music in the game is definitely nice. It sort of adds a little bit of the mood to it as well. Obviously, based on my time with it, there's only like one song that they play throughout most of the levels in the game, but overall, the music in the game is very nice, and like I said, it adds sort of a little bit of a mood to the game, though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to be talking about the cons, plus my thoughts on the gameplay footage that they finally showed off of Wolfenstein 2 on the Switch, and my thoughts on the movie The Death of Stalin that I saw. So we'll take a quick break and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our video review of the Nintendo eShop game, Castle of Hearts. I forgot to mention this earlier. I keep forgetting to mention this. And if you're interested in any of the gameplay footage of that game, I'll have a link in the description. You can check that video out. So now that we got the pros out of the way, why don't we get to the cons? And for me, and again, this is just my opinion and so on, there are only 2 cons that I could think of, though, okay? The first one is the difficulty spike. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the pro part, I mentioned the game has a sort of a Dark Souls vibe to it. And it does, and which can be both a good and a bad thing. It's good because it provides a challenge, but at the same time, it can also be bad because there are going to be some frustrated moments, especially when your health bar is decreasing, which can add a little bit of pressure on you if you're trying to get to the next checkpoint or try to beat the level, though. If there is one silver lining to this, though, it's, as far as I know, the game does have unlimited lives. So even if you die, you'll start the next checkpoint, or your last checkpoint to be exact. So you do have unlimited tries. You're not under pressure like you have, like if you run out of lives, it's game over and all that stuff. So nevertheless, though, it does have sort of a, like I said, has that Dark Souls vibe to it, which can be both good and bad. Like I said, it can be challenging, but there can be some difficulties at some time, though. So there is the difficulty spike is one of the cons. The last one I have, and this is one I I've gotten used to it, but I just don't like the approach, and that is the jumping. There are times in the game where the jumping can be awkward and difficult. And one of the examples I think is that you have to hold down the B button to jump. I believe it's the B button. I'm not 100% sure. And there are times when I do wish that the developers did add sort of a double jump in some cases as well, because there are times when certain things are sort of out of reach and it can be difficult, you know, to reach it, though. So it would have been nice to add a bit of a double jump. I mean, there are ways you could reach certain items and all, but a double jump would have been nice to be added to the game. I just feel that the jumping mechanics in this game is a little bit awkward at times, though. I mean, it doesn't make the game unplayable, but there are times when it can be awkward and difficult. Overall, Castle of Hearts is a fun game indeed. I like the medieval, and I like that I get that Castlevania, old school Castlevania to be exact, and ghouls and goblins vibe to the game, though. And the combat and the gameplay is very fun, though. I will admit the difficulty spike could turn some people off, and I do think the jumping can be awkward and difficult at times, but overall, I've had a fun experience with Castle of Hearts, and it is a title I would say it's worth trying out, though. I understand some of the reviews haven't been so kind to it, though. I didn't hate it as much, but obviously everyone will have a difference of opinion, so overall, give Castle of Hearts a try, to be exact. Okay, before I end this video, I do want to give my thoughts on two things. The first one I want to talk about, as I mentioned earlier, is gameplay footage of Wolfenstein 2 has finally come out for the Nintendo Switch. And I won't know until I actually pop the game to my Switch to see it for myself. Based on what the video footage it showed, though, I'm actually impressed that they were able to squeeze all of that into the Nintendo Switch, much like it was with Doom. Now, granted, though, just like with Doom, however, I think we have to realize that obviously the frames are going to be set at 30 frames per second, which somewhat disappointing but not surprising, as long as they keep it at a stable 30 frames per second, though. I wouldn't be surprised if the resolution is dropped at 720p, but overall, based on what the footage I've seen so far, it looks very impressive that they're able to do that on the Nintendo Switch. Whether or not that clicks with audiences or not remains to be seen, but I'm hoping this game does sell well. And last but not least, I want to give my quick thoughts on the movie The Death of Stalin that I saw earlier today. Although this video will go up on Tuesday, I saw it on Saturday to be exact. I have to say, it is a funny movie, though. For those who are not familiar, it's based off of how, I think, Kerchak, if I'm saying the name correctly, I apologize or not, basically rose to power following the actual death of Stalin. I mean, it's based off of real events, but they turned it into sort of a comedy and a bit of a parody, though. And if you're a fan of the TV show, I think it was on HBO, Veep, you'll probably like this one because it's written by the same people who did the Veep, though. It's a little bit of a slapstick comedy, though. Some of the jokes some people will get, some of it isn't, but overall, it was a good film, though. I mean, it's a small film, it's an indie film, but it was definitely funny, and I did enjoy it, though. So if you're into that kind of satire or political satire or anything like that, you'll definitely should give The Death of Stalin a try. Yes, it is based on actual historical events, but it's done in a comedic way. So overall, I enjoyed the movie, but may not appeal to everyone. But either way, I enjoyed it. So give Death of Stalin a look. I'm going to be looking at that movie before Infinite Wars comes out and so on. Okay, this concludes my video review of Castle of Hearts for the Nintendo Switch, and my thoughts on the gameplay of Wolfenstein 2 and the Death of Stalin, the movie. And again, these are my opinions. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Castle of Heart? Have you tried the game out yet? Have you downloaded it yet? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you think some of the mechanics are awkward, like the jumping, or is it not a big deal? Do you agree with some of the reviewers that the game's bad or disappointment, or you don't think it's bad? What are your thoughts about gameplay footage of Wolfenstein 2 that have come out? Are you impressed by it? Are you not impressed though? Are you going to plan to pick it up for the Switch, or are you sticking with PS4, Xbox One, or PC for that matter? And what about my thoughts about the movie The Death of Stalin? Is it the type of movie that interests you? Is it the movie that doesn't interest you at all? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think, and I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it. I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that will be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good evening then. Bye!